Max Verstappen wants Lewis Hamilton penalized. He runs off the track on the outside, rejoins, and tells his team over the radio it is a clear penalty. The stewards look at it and do nothing. Then Hamilton speaks, and he never mentions the rules once. He says you don't go around the outside of a champion, and that Verstappen should have backed out. 6 days later, they both land at Silverstone. Hamilton has won there 9 times. Verstappen has just driven the place on a simulator and started laughing. This one gets ugly fast. The outside of a corner is exactly where this whole thing was born. 5 years ago, these two spent a season trading paint on the edge of every track in the world, and the move that defined them was always the same, one of them refusing to lift while the other tried to go around the long way. Back then, it was a title fight that ran all the way to the last corner of the last lap of the year. Today, it is supposed to be a footnote, because Hamilton drives a Ferrari now, and Verstappen sits 7th in a Red Bull that started the season too heavy to fight for anything. That is the part nobody expects. The grudge is not meant to be live anymore. The standings have moved on without them. 2 silver Mercedes have run away with the year, and the names everyone is watching are Kimi Antonelli and George Russell, not the 2 men who used to own this sport. Then Austria happens, and for 22 laps, the clock rolls backwards. Russell wins the race from pole, holding Antonelli off by less than 0.4 of a second across the line. But the fight everyone is talking about afterwards is the one behind them, for second place, at the Red Bull Ring, on Red Bull's own land. Hamilton and Verstappen go at each other, and it looks exactly like 2021. Same body language, same refusal to give an inch, same sense that neither of them is going to be the one who blinks. Hamilton holds the position on lap 11 and forces Verstappen wide at the corner. Verstappen runs wide off the track on the outside, keeps his foot in, and comes back snarling. He spends the next 11 laps glued to the back of a car he is supposedly quicker than, and he cannot get past. When he finally does get through on lap 22, he does not celebrate it. He keys the radio and asks for Hamilton to be looked at. A clear penalty, he calls it. The car in front pushed him off, the way he sees it, and he wants the stewards to act. They do not. They look at the incident, decide there is nothing in it, and move on. No investigation, no penalty, no note. As far as the rulebook is concerned, nothing happened. And for Verstappen, that is almost worse than a punishment, because it means the racing was clean and he simply could not make it stick. That is only round 1. Forget the radio call for a moment. What Hamilton says when somebody tells him about it afterwards is the part that matters. He does not reach for the rules. He does not talk about racing room or apex points, or who was technically ahead. Instead, he goes straight at the man. You went off on the outside, he says. You don't expect to go around the outside of a champion. He says he would not expect to go around the outside of Verstappen there and hold the line either, that Verstappen was behind at the apex, that he should have backed out, and that he left just enough room. Read that again, because every word of it is aimed. This is not a driver defending a move. This is one champion telling another that he tried something you simply do not try on someone at this level, and that he has only himself to blame for where it ended. Then comes the detail that makes it worse, or better, depending on where you are sitting. After all of that, the two of them shake hands in the media pen. Hamilton calls the whole battle good fun. He looks Verstappen in the eye and says, "Good race, man. No sulking, no cold shoulder. None of the ice you would expect from 2 men who once needed the stewards pulling them apart race after race just to get through a season. You would think that handshake settles it. It does the opposite. 2 drivers who hate each other is just noise. 2 drivers who respect each other, who know exactly how good the other one is, who have already shared a championship that came down to a single lap. That is the version that keeps you up at night. The respect is not the peace, the respect is the threat. Hamilton is not warning a rival he writes off. He is warning the one driver on the grid he really rates, and he is doing it out loud, on camera, for everyone. One former Formula 1 driver, now an analyst, puts it bluntly afterwards. Hamilton, he says, does not forget. Whatever sat between these two before never really went away. It just went quiet, waiting for a track where it could come back. So why does any of this matter, when Hamilton sits 3rd and Verstappen sits 7th, and a Mercedes is going to win the championship anyway? Here is where the numbers get interesting. Hamilton is 3rd in the standings on 125 points. He is 46 points behind the leader and only 6 behind Russell, and he is sitting there in the slowest of the 3 cars at the front. Antonelli, the teenager, leads the whole thing with 5 wins and 4 poles. Mercedes have won 7 of the first 8 races. The team is almost 100 points clear of Ferrari in the constructors' fight, and Ferrari themselves are a distant second, well ahead of Red Bull but nowhere near the silver cars. This is not a tight season at the top, it is a route. And the cruelest part for these two is who is doing the routing. Antonelli is still a teenager. He is the driver who took Hamilton's seat at Mercedes the moment Hamilton left for Ferrari, and he has spent the year making it look easy. The generation that Hamilton and Verstappen built between them is being swept aside by someone who was barely in school when the pair of them started winning titles. For two men so used to being the story, that stings in a way the points table never quite shows. And that is what makes Hamilton's afternoon 2 weeks before Austria so strange. In Spain, he wins. His first victory in Ferrari red, by nearly 20 seconds, the only race all season a Mercedes does not take. It is his 106th career win, 15 clear of Michael Schumacher, and it ends a drought that had run for almost 700 days. He is driver of the day, and for one Sunday, he looks like the Hamilton who used to bend whole eras to his will. Austria drags him straight back down. He finishes fifth, almost half a minute behind Russell, chewed up by a three-stop strategy and a car that cannot hold its tyres or hold a straight line. And after the race, he says the thing that explains his entire year. On Friday, he admits they are down 0.6 of a second just in a straight line. 0.6 in a sport decided by thousandths. That is not a setup problem you fix overnight. The Ferrari has the grip in the slow and medium corners. What it does not have is the punch on the way out of them. Hamilton describes it exactly. It is the deployment, he says, not the power. Coming out of a corner, the grunt is there. The engine feels strong. It just drains away at the end of every straight, while the Mercedes cars keep pulling, and there is nothing he can do about it from inside the cockpit. On the speed trap in Austria, he sits level with the McLarens, and even level with Verstappen, but the two Mercedes simply walk away from everyone down the long runs. You would think a problem that big would already be fixed. It is not, and the fix is not coming soon. Ferrari brings its first engine upgrade of the year to Austria, and over a full race distance it barely moves the needle. The bigger step, a redesigned turbocharger, is being held back until after the summer break, somewhere around Zandvoort or Monza, which means for the next handful of races, including the one that matters most to him in the whole world, Hamilton is stuck with the exact deficit he already has. And the gap is bad enough that the rule makers themselves have put a number on it. Ferrari's engine is measured as more than 4% down on the best power unit on the grid, far enough behind that the regulations hand them extra upgrades to catch up. That is the official word on where Hamilton's car sits. Not a touch short, far enough short to qualify for help. Now look at the other side of this fight, because Verstappen is not the man he used to be either. His Red Bull starts the year carrying too much weight, 12 kilograms over the limit, a tank of a car that should not be anywhere near the front. The team grinds that down, 6 kilograms by Miami, and finally reaches the minimum weight for the first time in Austria with a major upgrade, new floor, new rear suspension, reshaped side pods. Hamilton reckons they find 3 to 4 tenths in one weekend, most of it just from the diet. P2 in Austria is Verstappen's best result of the entire season, and he says it himself, it is the first time all year he has felt like he could actually fight for a win. Sit with that for a second. Max Verstappen, a 4-time world champion, is treating second place at his own team's home race like a breakthrough. That is how far the mighty have fallen. And the team around him has been stripped right down to get here. The boss who built his whole career, Christian Horner, was pushed out last year. The man who designed his title-winning cars is gone. So is the sporting director. Verstappen is now driving for a new team principal, in a car from a power unit project the team has never built before, and for the first time in years nobody is pretending Red Bull is the standard everyone else is chasing. And it gets sharper, because his contract has a trapdoor built into it. The deal runs for years, but there is a catch. If he is not inside the top 2 of the championship by the summer break, he can walk away for next season. He is 7th. His own manager has all but said the decision is coming before the break. So every race between now and then is not just points for Verstappen. It is the difference between staying and leaving. A driver in that position is dangerous in a way a comfortable one never is. He has spent the year telling anyone who will listen that he does not even like these new cars, that they feel nothing like real Formula One to him. He has called them anti-racing and refused to soften it once. Take it all away. The title lead he no longer has, the cars he no longer enjoys, the team that no longer runs the sport, and what is left is the pure racer, the part of him that has never needed the fastest car to be the most uncomfortable man on the grid to have sitting behind you. Now he has finally found a weekend where the thing fights back, and the man right in front of him on that weekend is the same one who just told the world he should have known better than to try going around the outside. If you are getting value from this breakdown, take a second and subscribe, because the run into the summer break is where this season either cracks open or gets buried, and every race from here is going to swing it. So here is the collision everyone overlooks, while they stare at the Mercedes pair up front. Underneath the runaway leaders sits a private war with 5 years of history in it. Two former champions, both wounded, both hungry, both arriving at the next race with something to settle. And the next race is the worst possible place for Hamilton to be carrying a straight-line problem, Silverstone. The British Grand Prix lands on the 5th of July, and it is not a normal weekend. It is a sprint weekend, the second of the season, which means 2 races, 2 grids, and barely any practice to hide a weak car behind. Everything is squeezed, every mistake is made bigger. There is no slow Friday to quietly sort the car out before it counts, and there are 2 races, not 1, 2 starts. 2 opening laps, 2 separate chances for the thing everyone is bracing for to finally happen. A sprint weekend does not give you a gentle build towards Sunday. It throws the whole grid into the fight almost straight away, twice over, with points on the table both times. And the track itself is built to punish the exact flaw that is hurting Hamilton's Ferrari most. This is a circuit you take flat. Cops, then the Maggots and Beckett's and Chapel Complex, some of the fastest direction changes in all of motorsport, corners these drivers barely lift for across 52 laps. It is glorious to watch and harsh on a 2026 car, because a lap that is almost entirely full throttle gives the battery nowhere to recover. There are no long braking zones to harvest the energy back. You spend it all on the straights and the fast corners, and you get very little of it returned, lap after lap after lap. And the car that deploys worst pays that bill the hardest. On every straight, the Ferrari hands a little back to anything with a stronger battery sitting behind it. Across 52 laps that adds up fast, a small deficit stacked on top of itself until it turns into the finishing order, which brings us to Verstappen, and the simulator, and the laughing. Before the weekend even starts, Verstappen runs Silverstone on Red Bull's simulator to feel out how this year's car drives there, and he says he just started laughing. It felt like a different track, he says. You barely have any battery around the lap. It is just constantly flat. He is not playing it up for the cameras. He is telling you that the new rules turn one of the greatest circuits in the world into an energy puzzle, and that even he, in a car built by the team that owns the place, is staring at a problem he is not sure he can solve. This is the same man who won here in 2023 and got booed on the podium for it. He knows this ground better than almost anyone, and the simulator makes him laugh in shock. Now put those 2 facts side by side. Verstappen, in a Red Bull, is openly worried about running out of battery at Silverstone. Hamilton, in a Ferrari that is already 6/10 slower in a straight line and already tailing off on deployment, is walking into the same trap with a worse tool to face it. The track does not care about reputations. It asks every car the same question, and Hamilton's car has the weakest answer of the 3 at the front. There is one more piece, and it is the cruelest one. Lewis Hamilton has won the British Grand Prix 9 times. 9. No driver in the history of this sport has won more races at a single circuit than Hamilton has won at Silverstone. He has taken pole there 7 times. He has stood on the podium in 12 of his last 13 visits. When he last raced there for Mercedes, he won it in front of a crowd that treated him like he owned the tarmac, because in every way that matters, he does. This is more than a home race. It is his cathedral. The grandstands fill on race day, most of them there for him, many having watched him win on this exact stretch of tarmac since they were children. They do not turn up to cheer a brave 5th place. They come to see the home car out front. That is the weight he carries into the first corner, and this year the car underneath him may not have enough left to hold it. So how does the King of Silverstone arrive at his own kingdom as the hunted one? That is the question the whole weekend asks. The man with 9 wins on this ground is rolling in with the slowest fast car, a deployment problem the track is designed to expose, and a rival behind him carrying a grudge that just got fresh fuel in Austria. There is a small mercy in it for him. After a miserable first year in red, where his teammate Charles Leclerc outscored him by a mile and Hamilton never once reached the podium, the order has flipped. Hamilton is now ahead of Leclerc in the championship, the clear lead driver at Ferrari again. But being the best of a slow pair does not make him safe. On the track, he has dominated more than any other. The home hero might be the one with the most to lose. Ferrari knows it. The team is bringing upgrades to Silverstone, trying to claw back whatever it can on the aero side, while the real engine cure sits months away in Italy. It is patching a hole it cannot properly fix yet, on the worst possible weekend, to have that hole in front of the one crowd Hamilton least wants to let down. And there is a warning sign buried in all of this, the simplest one of all. The last time these two race wheel to wheel, the man who got the worst of it does not let it go quietly. He goes to the radio. He goes to the stewards. Then he loses the argument and watches the other man tell the world he should have known better. Drivers carry that. They carry it straight into the next corner. And the next corner is at a track where the speeds are higher, the room is tighter, and the room for backing out is smaller than almost anywhere they go all year. There is real weight riding on it for both of them. For Verstappen, a strong Silverstone is points toward the top two, toward the only number that decides whether he stays or walks at the summer break. For Hamilton, this is the one weekend his whole legend is built on, the place where a bad result does not just cost positions, it dents the myth. Neither man can afford to be careful. Both have every reason to push past the point where a sensible driver would lift. What happens when you put two former champions who already refuse to give each other room onto a circuit that forces them to take risks just to keep the car alive? Nobody knows yet. That is the whole point. The pieces are all sitting on the table. The history, the radio call, the answer that cut, the deficit, the simulator, the home crowd, the contract clock ticking on Verstappen, and none of them have been allowed to collide yet. You don't go around the outside of a champion. Hamilton says it about one corner in Austria. But Silverstone is the place where he has spent his entire career proving it, lap after lap, year after year, going around the outside of everyone who ever dared line up next to him. Now he arrives slower than he has been in a decade, on the one weekend his whole story is built on, with the only driver he truly respects hunting him from behind, and a grandstand full of people expecting a 10th win that the car may simply not have in it. The Mercedes will probably win the race. That part is almost boring now. The fight worth watching is the one happening underneath it, between two men who shook hands in Austria and both walked away knowing the handshake settled nothing. Silverstone is round 2. And for the first time in a very long time, the king is not the favourite on his own ground.